Hi, the international community holds its breath as tensions in the Strait of Hormuz threaten to escalate into renewed all out war between the United States and Iran. Yet, the strait, alongside Lebanon, where Israel continues to strike at alleged Hezbollah targets despite a ceasefire, is not the only Middle Eastern theater at risk of escalated violence with potential regional and global consequences. Mounting tensions in Yemen could lead to a de facto closure of Bab al Mandab, the narrow waterway that links the Suez Canal and the Red Sea to the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. Yemen is on edge, with the Houthi delegation that attended the funeral proceedings for Ali Khamenei figuring out how to return to Sana'a, the Yemeni capital, 4 days after Iran's assassinated supreme leader was put to rest in his birthplace, Mashhad. Tensions rose after a Mahan Air aircraft broke the Saudi Yemeni government's long standing air blockade of Sana'a when it picked up the delegation at the capital's international airport and flew it to Tehran in the first direct flight between the two countries in more than a decade. In response, Saudi Arabia warned that it would react harshly to any further attempt to violate what the kingdom described as the Yemeni government's exclusive authority over Yemen's airspace, airports, and international crossings. The blockade aims to weaken the Houthis and disrupt Iranian support for the group. In a gesture to Saudi Arabia, Iran last week requested permission for a second Mahan Air flight carrying the returning delegation to land in Sana'a. The Yemeni government vetoed the request, which had been passed on to it by Saudi authorities. Instead, it offered to return the delegation to Sana'a on an aircraft chartered by state owned Yemeni Airways. The Houthis rejected the offer, insisting that they have the right to manage Sana'a Airport and to decide what airlines can access it. The standoff puts Iran and the Houthis at a crossroads, particularly after Iran appeared to want to avoid conflict by initially asking Saudi Arabia for permission. How the delegation returns will speak volumes about Iranian support for the Houthis, the Islamic Republic's approach towards Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and Iran's willingness to expand to the Red Sea its maximalist quest for maritime dominance. The Iran backed Houthis have governed an unrecognized state in a third of Yemen, including Sana'a, inhabited by up to 80% of Yemen's population for more than a decade. With the Houthi delegation refusing to return to Yemen through a third country and insisting on flying to Sana'a on an aircraft of its choice, a return aboard a Mahan Air flight would put Saudi Arabia on the spot, having committed itself to a forceful response. The dispute over the return of the Houthi delegation from Tehran has become much bigger than a transportation issue. It is now a test of political leverage, deterrence, and regional red lines, said Yemen analyst Mohammed al Basha. The next few days will likely determine whether this dispute is resolved through diplomacy or becomes the trigger for a broader regional confrontation, Mr. al Basha added. The standoff is not occurring in a vacuum. As tensions escalate between the United States and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, a return aboard an Iranian aircraft would signal that Iran may want the Houthis to interrupt shipping in the Bab al Mandab waterway and potentially threaten the Saudi Red Sea oil export terminal of Yanbu, the kingdom's only export route since the Iran war began on February 28. In addition, the Houthis have indefinitely postponed a long negotiated deal with the government to exchange more than 1,600 detainees. It may not be a coincidence that a Saudi oil tanker was this week among vessels attacked by Iran as they transited through the Strait of Hormuz through Omani territorial waters. The attack followed last week's 2 days of fighting in Yemen's key Hodeidah governorate, home to the country's main Red Sea port, and to other provinces, as well as the interception of shipments of drone and explosive boat-related equipment. Gearing up for potential renewed clashes with Saudi Arabia, the Houthis have in recent days mobilized government employees, tribal groups, and security personnel who in demonstrations supported Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi's call for challenging the Saudi-Yemeni government's blockade of the airport and Houthi-controlled ports. The campaign has increasingly shifted from symbolic demonstrations towards organized military, tribal, and institutional preparedness across territory under Houthi control, Mr. al-Basha said. Thank you for watching or listening to The Turbulent World. I'm honored that you spent time with my work, given that we live in a world of information overload, in which time and attention come at a premium. The Turbulent World offers in-depth, independent, evidence-based, and original geopolitical analysis of the Middle East, the Muslim world, and the rise of civilizationalist leaders that goes beyond what mainstream media offer. Paid subscribers make the Turbulent World possible. They have full access to all postings, podcasts, and videos, as well as the newsletter's multi-year archive. They can post comments and get one-on-one briefings on demand. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber. This is as good a time as any other to subscribe. You can do so by going to jamesmdorsey.substack.com. Thank you, best wishes, and see you soon.